So, I think
Hello.
yes, sir.
Yeah, shall I start speaking?
Yes, sir. You can take on the session.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. So, firstly, uh, happy Engineers Day to everyone. I think this is one of the days where, yes, not just a Father's Day or a Mother's Day, the engineers whose contribution to this world is celebrated, and especially in memory of Mokshaganam Visvesvaraya, the premier, the foremost engineer that India has seen and the last century. And so, in memory of his contributions, we celebrate this day. So, it's a very good day to sit here and meet here virtually. I think the fact that we're all sitting in various places and still talking to each other, this is a marvel of only engineers. All the electronics engineers who have built all the electronic circuits across the mobile phones, telecommunications, and the long distance circuits, and the undersea submarine cables, and the internet, the softwares, and the AI programs that are running everywhere, and also the civil and the mechanical engineers who have made this happen, because all these structures need to be in place, right? So, despite being in all these different places, the simple technologies that have been built, now they become so simple, we are able to connect and are able to communicate with each other. I think we should all be proud of what has been accomplished so far in the last, I would say, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And except that the technology and the progress has been accelerating tremendously. I think if you look at the hardware, the chip design and the density of the chips, the way the Moore's law is defined, and how the chip density is increasing every 18 months, as per Moore's law, there is also entire technology innovation that is accelerating. So we are really fortunate to be in this age where we have such a strong base to build upon. I still remember my college days. If I needed the latest article or if I needed to research on something, my first choice was textbooks, and the second choice was go to library and look for more books or look for magazines. And it is actually, I came to know a bit later that we used to subscribe to IEEE Electronics, and these magazines used to come to the department, but they were all stored in some place which were all not, which we did not have access to normally. So right from the time to where we are today, where information is so freely available and so much of knowledge is available, and it is all in your hand. It's not like the knowledge is hidden somewhere inside somebody's locker or some library or some department store. They're all just there for you to see. So, in this stage where each and every bit of knowledge is available, and let us say when you take a researcher from MIT Media Lab, or a defense researcher sitting in Russia, or you take anybody in Japan, or a, uh, a simple farmer sitting in a village, what is the starting point for any of them? I think if you were to just analyze the starting point for all of them, right? By the way, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Can you
sir.
all hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You
You
are
are
audible.
audible.
Okay, okay, yeah. So, when you look at the difference between what these researchers or write to a farmer to somebody sitting on the street and playing on geophone with videos, what is the difference at the end of the day? The starting point for everyone is the mobile in their hands, right? Now they have the mobile in their hands, and they connect to the internet. How and what, let's just leave it to the exercise, that's okay. Or there is a laptop in a lab or a computer. Now they're all connected to the internet. Now, what differs from what somebody is researching on the latest methods of uh, AI or medical technology, or finding some new research on new COVID vaccinations or COVID treatments or cancer vaccinations in medical or defense or telecommunications or space technology, or the somebody sitting on the side of the street. They're all sitting on internet with a device in their hands. The difference is the question that you ask. Everybody starts with google.com or something, right? The google.com, the Google, which is the starting point for everyone. So everything starts from the question that you ask. Depending on the question that you ask, you get the result that you want. So it is a question that makes you different. It is not what Google does for you or what the mobile device does for you or internet does for you. See, it is easy to for somebody to go and check the cricket score or read out what the cricket commentary was or look at some videos. But if that's all you're doing, when will you become better or get to the level to go to the next level of getting into a contributor or a disruptor in technology? Right? This is where the focus is, and I'm sure if the students or even the faculty, I don't know how many of you have a problem with my topic. So I know we cannot see each other. We all cannot see each other. So, but then I just would like to ask a question. How many of you found this topic to be totally ridiculous, totally out of context? Can somebody say? Can somebody who can say this topic that we have chosen is ridiculous?
Not at all, sir. Not at all.
I'm so glad. I'm so
No.
glad. I
We
really
have
hope I
a
can see.
we
I really
have a
hope we
group
can
of
see each other.
students who are sitting in the class, and they are saying that this is, I mean, we are interested in the topic. They don't feel it's ridiculous.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm so happy to see the positive energy. By the way, of all the places I speak, universities or colleges or other groups that I talk to, actually VNR is one of the very few places where I feel highly motivated and charged to talk something that is really forward looking. I always feel that is a vibe that I got last time I was there physically, and I'm glad you're all agreeing to the topic and into the topic and looking forward to it. I'm so glad. That is number one. So it always starts with the question what you want in life, or what you want out of the technology that is around us or the facilities and ecosystem that is around us. So the first thing is, of course, everybody talks about how can I get a job, right? So that we are not talking about, we are not stopping anybody from getting a job. Let us say, I think somebody is from a family that needs the son to go and get a job and actually get a salary and be able to take care of the family. If that is a primary responsibility somebody has, I'm not saying you should stop what you're doing and go out and start a company to compete with Google. I cannot say that, right? That is okay. But the point here is no matter how you start, where you start, whichever way you start, do have this kind of a fire within you that you are here to make a change for the world and for India. So when it just so happened in the last 30 years, every time I thought the technology or innovation is done, there's nothing else to do, I was always pleasantly surprised by innovations coming from the left and the right and from the most unexpected places. See, for example, in 1995 when the internet has started, I was in AT&T Bell Labs. And how did the whole internet start? Obviously, internet has always been there, but the way to discover the content on the internet, it actually started off with the browser. Browser is the one that united all of the information easily available or easily organized or easily found. And that is the browser is the one, the Mozilla browser is the one that started happening. And everybody started putting their applications in some kind of HTML, some kind of application on the browser. And suddenly, with a simple URL, you're able to access anything and everything in the world. And that is what the beginning of the internet age is in 1995. I think some of you may are not even born, especially students. They're not even born at that time. So you actually are enjoying the internet age, but that time it is such a revolution that we have been part of. But before that, I was already in AT&T Bell Labs, and for a around 91, one of the group members in my group, he came up with something called a hypertext. And we had so many researchers in our group, and our group manager, he's a Bell Labs fellow, all top-notch people, great, wonderful PhDs and everyone. And one of the researcher came up with something called hypertext. When he asked, and then as an open question, because we used to encourage a lot of research in the group, when they asked all of us, yeah, he's doing something called hypertext, where when you have a text file, where when some words they can be linked to other documents, and that is called hypertext. So the first thing was I have a program that actually can where you can write this hypertext and link up to other documents through this hypertext. And what do I do with this? That is the first question that somebody asked. In fact, our manager asked. And the best suggestion we could give at the time for hypertext was that, sir, I think this is going to be helpful for doing some kind of online help documentation. That means we are releasing so many wonderful products out there in AI and whatever. Now, I think if somebody were to do a help documentation, this hypertext will be used. You see, even there at the highest of the smartest of the people, or some of the smartest people that I have met, again, not that they're not other smart people, but I have met, even they could not foresee the power of hypertext, right? So that's why innovation and where the latest of the new things happen, there is no limit of where that comes from, or it should only come from the biggest or the best of the companies, right? Now, at that time, after the internet has started, in the initial questions that we were seeing, we used to see the search engines. How do you search for information? One of the initial ones was Yahoo, Alta Vista, and there are a bunch of them, about half a dozen of them. At that time, anytime we search for something, it used to take us almost like 5, 10, 20 pages to find some information on the internet. So it was so cumbersome. But then Yahoo was the one that was doing better. We were able to get at least in the first 2-3 pages. We were happy with it. And also there were other applications like Amazon and other applications have come up, and we were so happy to see that, and we were really happy with all of the development happening. And it is only in 2000 that Google started happening. And when Google came up, they are the ones who came up with the algorithm, the page ranking algorithm, so that they can actually give you the best of the result in the first 2 or 3 searches, right? When you search for a word or a concept, the first 2 or 3 links is where you're supposed to find it. Now that is wonderful. And their algorithm is so good, the more people search, the more intelligence they built into the search. And this kept on building up and up. And despite billions of transactions, billions of searches happening every second. And that is what they have invested in. So that is where the Google's journey has started. And while it started in Stanford, obviously Stanford is a mother of many startups, especially in California and in Silicon Valley. It actually has a decent ecosystem right from the time of Hewlett Packard, when they went to Silicon Valley and started the Silicon Valley per se, like what you see as HP. Later on, in the olden times, it was actually the Boston with MIT that was the cradle of the innovation. But then Stanford, somehow they want to pick it up, and they somehow nurtured an ecosystem, and Hewlett Packard were the initial guys. And over a period of time, you had some of the serious investors who came from New York They moved to California and they started investing in startups. That whole culture just started around us, I would say, I can think of 80s. 80s, 70s, 80s is when these things have started, and the 90s is when all these things have become bigger and bigger. The whole startup ecosystem. Nothing happened overnight. So when all of these innovations came to now, that has become like an innovation factory. The California model is an innovation factory where anybody and everybody, they're always talking about working for a startup and they're starting up new companies and building new and innovative technologies. And with an investor ecosystem, they're building up these companies with 10, 20, 50, 100 million, 200, or even hundreds of $1 million of investment, and scaling up to go across the world and become like major real leaders. So with that kind of ecosystem in place, now that is a mother of all. So that is where a lot of the companies have come up, and I just mentioned Google because Google is primarily a software company, primarily a software, though they have the cloud also, primarily a software. And secondly, Intel is a hardware company. The reason I picked these two are because they are leaders in what they are doing and what they have done. Now this ecosystem is built for obviously now 20 years after 2000, in just in the 20 years past the Google where they have started. Now today the software and the applications and what they have done and what they have built is so huge. Now Google is such a part of our daily lives. Like you cannot even go from place A to B without Android or without a mobile phone or without the GPS or without the YouTube. There's so many products from Google factory that are coming up and becoming part of our lives. And they're making the most amount of money through advertisements on the search engine. And then the other products have come in, just like YouTube and other things, where they're slowly milking their way and trying to make more and more revenues. Now, while this is going on, Microsoft, another software company, under the aegis, under the leadership of Satya Nadella, it went out, starting from about, though Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer have built the company to a certain level, but the real kicker in the market capitalization of Microsoft, it used to be around 200 billion, I think almost 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. I used to start track this quite a bit. And just in the last 10 years, the market cap of Microsoft has become $2.1 trillion. Trillion, that is a T, not a B, right? Now, if you look at India's GDP, entire country, where you have 130 crores of people, right? More than 1.3 or 1.2 billion people here, our GDP is just the $2.3 trillion. And the Prime Minister Modi is trying so many ways to take it to 5 trillions. Now, by following what we are following, like, building the hardcore infrastructure investment, building the hardcore, agriculture improvements or employment improvements, social, all these things, I'm sure India has become better and better if you look at in the past 20, 30 years. But in order for India to go to $5 trillion, actually more than any other companies, you really need companies like technology companies who can add a few $1 billion to Indian economy. So that is the potential that India has and India needs. And while Indians are actually leaving India and going across the world and going so many places and building these companies and building the market caps, India itself is not benefiting it from it. Though we have the employees sitting here or the offices being here and some of the economy coming from some real estate and some stuff, but the real market capitalization of the companies is not coming to India. So the reasons are plenty. Again, I see this as an evolution. But the kids, the students who are studying in the college, they are in a much, much, much better place compared to 10, 20 years ago. Today in India, we have a startup ecosystem where you see many companies, even like Zomato, even a simple one or a Swiggy, they're all becoming like a 50,000 crore company or a 1 lakh crore company, right? And that is not easy. Like there are multi-billion-dollar companies now. Today, like an education technology company like Byju's is multi-billion dollars. Now, by the way, when I say we want to build the next Google, I don't mean exactly build something exactly like Google. That's a different topic. I'll say that separately. But to say that we want to build market leaders in different segments. Now, a lot of the infrastructure is primarily there, and it is improving, and many of it is become much cheaper and affordable. Now, today, if you want to build a new kind of a router, like competing with Cisco, fine, go ahead and do it. But then it may or may not be the first and most important thing yet, unless you are going to deliver terabytes or petabytes of data speeds in the router, or you have the utmost highestly security that you have built inside the router. If you're not doing that, building some kind of a 100 Mbps or 1 Mbps router is probably not the latest topic that we need today. So that's what I was talking about. But then India can and will need India will can have many unicorns. Unicorn meaning a company that actually has a market valuation of $1 billion. So what I am seeing, even in the unicorns that are in India, majority of them do not have people from Hyderabad. I don't know why they are not taking the leadership role. And that is one of the reasons why I am saying why are we not creating the next Google? So the leadership role is where you need to be aspiring. You should be looking for, not just looking for a job when you come out of it. Okay. Now the central government itself has excellent startup plan, Startup India, and that plan is working really well. In the last 1 year, there's a lot more clarity on the plan, where if somebody started and they have some innovative product. Now innovative doesn't mean a really huge innovation to compete with the Googles, but a decent innovation, whatever that is, a product. They're looking for software and hardware products, or even biotech or other kind of products. So today India wants to be a product nation, and in order to be a product nation, they're encouraging the Startup India. If you look at it, by the way, what I'm talking about, these are the topics I really wish the college faculty start looking up a little bit more and make it part of the, I don't know, I don't want to say it is a syllabus, but some kind of a college curriculum, so that the students are exposed to these things right from the time when they're in the college, not after they leave the college. And lucky that Hyderabad has a excellent ecosystem of startups with TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs, and also T Hub. T Hub is beautiful. My suggestion is everybody should look at how to go and actually work and look at T Hub. T Hub is something that is in the high-tech business area and high-tech city near the Inorbit Mall. I think just like you want to go to Uppal Stadium to watch a cricket match, or to, right after the COVID, I want to go and watch a movie, right? Just like that, have that passion, have that kind of a fire within you to go out and actually go and meet with somebody at T Hub. Go get involved in those startup melas and startup programs. So, firstly, get involved in the startup systems. Don't look for a job at the large companies. To me, I know some of you may hate it, but I know for a reason you may hate it. I know the kind of reasons that people have in India, very surprisingly. So don't look for jobs in the service companies like TCS, Infosys. I mean, you will be in the bottom of the rung, and you will not be doing some exciting job unless you are. I would say only 1 out of 100 people in Infosys will be doing really high tech and advanced technical skills or advanced works. They're simply doing what the companies in the world don't want to do, and that is what these people get. So the hierarchy in these large service companies is so much that if in order for you to go and get an opportunity to work on some latest topic, that even if Infosys is working, it's very difficult. It's too difficult, highly bureaucratic in that way. Instead, if you join a startup company, right? If you join a startup company, then you'll be able to wear many hats. It's not just software, it's just not UI, it is just not electronics, it's just not hardware, it's just not field installation. You'll be wearing many hats when you join a startup. And when you do, you will be able to attract, your mind blossoms. If you start any kind of a job right after college or even during the college, what you do there is something. This is very important. The first, even during the college, you should start working for startups or your own ideas, and at the same time, you should be working for startups or looking to work in startup right after the college. The sooner you start getting engaged in the startup ecosystem, the sooner your mind starts blossoming into what is a product, how do you build products, how do you market them, how do you build companies. This is what India and Indian engineers need. You need to be employment creators. You need to be creating employment, not just, this is still the age for that. Because India definitely needs, I would say, at least a few thousand successful unicorns and startups to even to provide the employment to the existing engineers, right? Even to the engineers that are coming out, they need jobs. Now, you see, not everybody is capable of creating a company or creating a product. But I believe VNR, your team, your faculty, your college has a complete potential in creating those technology leaders and future entrepreneurs and strong entrepreneurs. So that way, that is the reason why I brought this topic to you, that you should be the employment creators and doing this. So, and what the Startup India is also doing, I've been learning in the recent times, they're creating many programs and also creating incentives. And the programs that they're creating is a lot of the new topics that for most of the new topics, they're encouraging the startups to get into some kind of preferred tendering model, where and also piloting, if they do pilot their new products or the new prototypes for a specific application, like for agriculture product tracing, right, or cyber security, or there's many topics, or defense research. There's so many things happening in India today. So on these things, they are encouraging the startups to with a clear advantage to compete in those areas, and they are giving special incentives for the Indian startups to compete and participate for to get business in India itself. Because that is another thing that every startup needs, that it needs to get its first business or first levels of business in where you are. Meaning, you cannot just sit in India and expect business to come from outside India. Of course, if it is a completely online, internet-based, SaaS-based product, yeah, you can get revenues from outside the country. But initial success has to come from India if it is something else. So that is one part. Now, secondly, in the startups and all, you really have to look at, you should not be afraid of hardware, or you should not be afraid of networking or security, and you have to get into the details and details and details. The devil is always in the details. If you look at anybody who tells you that you'll get a job if you learn this tool, now this is one of the major problems I see in the job ecosystem here. Everybody is looking after, how do I get a job? Now, if you go to Amirpet, you have a poster. Oh, this is Unity 3D. There is a new thing that is in the town. There is a new product that has come up. If you get trained, you'll get a job. That's what the HR guys, service companies, training organization, everybody is actually pumping so much out there. Now, what do they really do? See, they always what they are doing is always masking the fundamentals. So they always build these high-level products, like even the cloud products that you see. A lot of the underlying technology is all masked, and what you see is a high-level UI. And sir, if you do have, and their typical training program is typically okay, you click on the left button and the right button, and you enter this information, then you get this answer. It is just so silly the way all those tools are designed. And again, they're not for engineers like who come from VNR or really smart engineers. The smart engineers has to be asking the very basic question. That is, how does a chip work? What is a CPU? What is an operating system? What is AI? How do you write expert system? What is the actual code? Not just the studios or the high-level tools, but what actually is actual programming. how do I write the real C programming? How do I do the real embedded systems? How does the network programming work? How does TCP/IP works? And how do you work? How do you build cyber security in an industrial area? Right? All these require very basic thinking. Unless you work on the basics, you will not be to appreciate the advanced technologies or the tools that are there at the higher level. And if you get stuck in the higher level, you will never ever know what is happening in the underlying. So just to give you an example, if you go to in the last few years, even in US, the technology changed so much and the technology stack is so much. Especially in the last 5 years, technology stacks have changed so much. Today, the interview process in US is such that anybody can attend an interview for a software engineer. Now, this interview will consist of maybe 3 to 5 rounds of interviews with lots and lots of programming, lots of intensive algorithmic tests, and very intensive mathematics and HR, and it's really deep. I mean, this is something I have not seen in the last 20 years in the way they are selecting software engineers, because the entire technology stack is changing. So this is a golden opportunity to get into the utmost details and be part of the real journey and not stay at the peripheral. Like when you want to be a cricketer, right? In a cricket team, you either are a batsman or you aspire to be a batsman as an opener or a middle order, or what is the point in you want to be a cricketer, you want to join a cricket team, but you want to be the ninth down or 10th down? What is the point? Or, yeah, I'm the best fielder, that is what I'm good at. Or I want to play football, I want to play soccer, and what I am is just a goalie. So in technology also, if you are always after these tools and getting trained in Amirpet for 1 month or 2 months and you get a job, and that job will disappear in 2 years because tools keep changing. If you're at the tool level, at a UI level, the simple stuff, you will never ever be able to settle down. Then you're always scrambling and trying to get in the tech lead or the team management or the middle management, which will never ever give you the stability or the kind ability to build technology companies or the product companies. So this is very important. So next, let me touch upon another area. The everybody has 24 hours. Now there is no technology in the world except in science fiction movies where time can be made or you can go back in time. So the 24 hours that everybody has, what a MIT researcher has, or a cricket champion has, or the Prime Minister Modi has, and what you have, everybody has the same 24 hours. It is what you do with the 24 hours and what habits you have in these 24 hours is what will make you a champion or a Google founder or the next Google founder or the next unicorn founder. So first thing is this 24 hours that you have, if you don't divide it carefully, if you don't utilize and if you don't budget for each and every, when you wake up in the morning, you should know what you're going to do for the rest of the day. Either your fitness or meditation or the class or the book or the learning or the extra learning or the extra job or part-time job or the English skills or the language skills, or you actually are writing a research report, or you're building a new prototype, or you're going and seeing and visiting the startup companies, or what you're learning from them, who the mentors you're trying to network. Oh, the list is unlimited. The list is big. What a student can do or should do is huge. Now, I don't know how many of you are thinking on these lines. If all you're looking at is wake up in the morning at some time in the day and somehow go to the class because you have to, and then sit through the classes because you have to, and then pick up whatever assignments you have to, and then submit the assignments somehow, and then you go to an exam. Out of the 10 questions you are supposed to answer, if you have to answer only 5, how do I answer only these 5? And how do I mug up the answers because none of this is useful for my job? I mean, by narrowing down these kind of things, you are completely underutilizing, underselling yourself, and you're hurting your own self-pride. This will hurt you in the long run or the medium term. Firstly, we all had to respect ourselves, respect our time, and feel proud of who we are individually. Each and every one person should feel proud of themselves. Because when you respect yourself, respect your own minute, every minute budget. What have I done in the next 10 minutes? What have I done in the next 1 hour? If you don't budget yourself, if you don't want to build yourself into somebody better and better every hour, now any habit or any kind of a compulsive thing that makes you okay, now it is evening 6 o'clock, let me just go and have a beer with a friend, or I'm not saying either good or bad. Say, I'm not talking about relaxing is good or bad, I'm just talking about how you budget your time. If you The relaxing that people do in India is mind boggling to me. The amount of time that people spend time in India is completely mind boggling, because I know the startups that happen, and in a startup actually people work. Typically, the people that I know in California, they all get excellent salaries. They may get anywhere from 150,000 to $500,000. But everybody is working 100 hours a week. They're not relaxing. They're enjoying the creation. But to enjoy the creation or to be in that role of creating and contributing, there is so much of self-discipline and learning and building yourself that you have to do. Right from every thought that counts, the thought that comes to your mind today, does it make you better or does it make you worse? And positivity, extreme positivity, and also fearlessness. To me, if you're always afraid, you know what? I think somehow I have to get a job. If I can get a job for 50,000 rupees, my life is done. Are yaar, what is your problem? Maybe you're destined to make 5 lakhs or 50 lakhs a month. Why not? Why are you not aspiring to be better? Why are you compromising yourself to be just a 50,000 employee? So everybody needs to feel proud of themselves and to be bigger and better on how to become. And that is the only, by the way, this is the mindset of a champion.
దాంట్లో మీకు ఆ సర్వీస్ ట్యాగ్లో అదే ఉంటుంది కదా, అది సెట్ చేస్తున్నాను నేను.
Actually, the world today needs to have a champion mindset, and only those with that mind, it is all your mindset. It doesn't matter whether you're 5 foot 5 inches or you're dark or white or good looking, not good looking, none of that matters. Ultimately, it is what you do, how you do, and what you deliver, what you contribute, what you make is what
ఇది
matters.
వేరు,
Actually, the world doesn't care how good looking you are or what you do.
ఇది
So,
వేరు, నాది ఇది కాదనుకుంటా.
be a better version of yourself every day, every hour, every minute. And always aspire for something bigger and
సైడ్కి
bigger
స్లైడ్
and
చేసి
bigger.
వస్తుందంటారా?
And you need to have
ఇది అది
a
కాదు.
clear set of goals, like what do I do for this today, this week, next month, next year, next 5 years, next 10 years. So have some really good, solid, aggressive goals and work towards them. And have fun doing it. And have fun. It is not like you're under a lot of pressure if you don't do it. But as you're doing it, the journey is what that matters. As long as you're working hard, you will achieve what you achieve. In what we have gone through today, I think if you understand that what I'm asking you to do is learn and how you start, be build a startup and build your $1 billion, right? Why not? Why not? So recently, I met with a young engineering student and one of my friend's daughter, and I asked her a little bit about startups and stuff. She said she was interested. So I asked her to take an oath, and said, I think one of these days I'll give out the audio of that oath. The oath is that by the time I'm 40, I want to make my first $1 billion, and I want to create employment for 1,000 people. That is a beautiful thing to aspire for. That's a beautiful thing. I'm not talking about politicians, politics, corruption. Let's not be sidetracked by all these things in India. There's so much good is happening. As young person like Ritesh started Oyo when he was 21 years old. There's so many wonderful stories even in India. So learn from them, be one of them, be better than them, compete in the world, and give India the startups or the Googles, that Intels that India desperately needs. Unfortunately, while I said there is so much technology that we are using that we are proud of, I'm so unhappy to feel that even after all these decades, the mobile that you have, Android that you're using, the chips, networks, none of the technologies are owned by any of the Indian companies. It is a really saddening thing. That is where my angst my frustration comes from why are we not aspiring to build companies in India for India? Now the best part that you have here is the Android that is on this phone. How many of you know that this is an open source operating system that you can open up and read the source code and learn everything that is in there? The best part is best of the softwares in the world are all open source based. Today Linux is open source. Your Android is open source. And majority of the applications, your databases are open source. So while you can read up books and textbooks and all that or high level tools, you can simply open up the source code and learn about them. Now, how did China enter into, or even the Samsung enter into chip market? That is because compared to Intel or AMD, the ARM chip is open source. The ARM chip that you have, the cores that you have, that is what Qualcomm create all these mobile processors with the ARM cores, and that is completely open source. Now there's so much of open source out there. You start from anywhere. You start learning from the open source. That is what will give you the real foundation. I used to know one of the best friends that I used to have in Bell Labs, and he printed out the source code of Unix operating system. He said, it is only when I look at the source code that I will know or understand how actually Unix works. To me, that kind of a tenacity I have not seen anyone. By the way, in Bell Labs, anytime we used to work on products, one of our biggest passion is reading the source code. To me, isn't that wonderful? Reading a source code of a router. Today, most of the routers use open source network protocols for TCP. And even the network routers are based on Linux. So when you want to learn an operating system, don't you want to just look at the source code of Linux? Why not? What is stopping you from learning from there? Now those are the fundamental questions I'm asking you. Somebody wants to learn about cybersecurity. Now look at the source code, look at the open source protocols, get down to the details until you get down to bits and bytes. See, I'm not, I wish, I actually, by the way, I'm also culprit in a way. My seniors in Bell Labs used to tell me that I'm a slacker, that I'm dealing at the C code or C++ code or some high level code. I'm not looking at the bits and bytes at an assembly level code. So I'm also a slacker in that way. But I'm just asking you, but source code is something you have to read. That should be part of the syllabus. How long do you want to just read the textbooks and learn what an operating system is? So the devil is always in the details. The ones who will master this source code, forget about all the products. You pick one product, you become master in that product. You will be the one who will be creating the next Google. You know, the movie Maharshi, when I saw that movie with Mahesh Babu as a hero, I was amazed at the audacity where an engineering student is supposed to have done artificial intelligence based operating system. To me, that is smart. I think whoever is the writer, he definitely put the right thing out there. Now, by looking at the movie and when a Mahesh Babu says something, how many people have went ahead and said, okay, I want to create or I want to know where an AI-powered operating system is. And to my biggest surprise, India is the worst contributor to the open source. All of these open source products are created and marketed from, most of the time, the contributors are Europe and US, not India. Despite India having the largest programmer base, we are such lazy bums. We don't contribute to the open source. So first start reading them, start contributing to them, and build up your own fundamental skills so that no matter what somebody says, when somebody says, I know this is how the Linux works, yeah, I know what you said, this is how Linux works, but I really know how the Linux works because I know the source code of how the TCP protocol works, how the pipes work, how the file system is organized. And I feel for the petabytes and petabytes of data that is coming in so much with the IoT and the new smart cities and stuff, India needs this expertise. You cannot always import products from outside. You need to manufacture them in India. So I think the major problem that I see in India is that, centuries ago, probably 150, 200 years ago, I think, 150, 200 years ago, when Britishers came in, they wanted to destroy the Indian industry. At that time, India was known for uh, the 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 clothing, the clothes. We were textiles. We were India was the number one at that time across the world. So the Britishers came to India. They literally cut the hands of people, cut the hands of the artisans so that they cannot pass on the skill and art to the next generation. They even destroyed the equipment and and made sure that everybody followed an the British standard of industry or British schooling system. I think we have lost our soul and character in all these 200 years. So my request, recommendation, and the encouragement I want to give it to you today, the spirit and motivation I want to give it to you all today is pledge yourself that you will be the path breakers for India and do something for India. Build those big companies from India. And that's my speech for today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I request our director, sir, Dr. Chandrakeswara Garu, to say a few words. Okay. Meanwhile, any of the participants can please give your feedback.
Kiran sir?
May I speak?
Yes,
But
yes, sir.
okay.
Radhakrishna, sir, you can carry on.
Can you hear me?
Radhakrishna, sir, your voice is breaking, sir. Rashekar, sir, can you please?
Yes, madam. Am I audible, madam?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Sir, Satya sir, good morning, sir. Uh, your talk is so nice. It's an ideal combination of. Even I felt that it is just like personality development class. You have it's ideal mixture of personality development as well as technical details. You nicely said about T Hub. Yes, it is true, sir. Even you mentioned about cyber security. Uh, um, I have only one question, sir. In terms of startups, if you observe carefully, startups statistics, I think United States has got so many startups. But even in India, we also have startups. But growth-wise or income generation-wise, uh, I think in United States it is 64.7%, whereas in India, generation of income it is 4.1%. What is the reason, sir? What is our drawback? Even you rightly said about our education system. Macaulay came and that time itself, even 200 years back, we lost our soul. It is right time to bring back all those things, sir. My question is this one, sir. What is the difference between startups in United States and in India?
Okay, first, very basic thing is in India, we don't have an investment ecosystem. The investor ecosystem is so bad in India. All of the investments in startups in India is coming from abroad. Singapore, Middle East, US, Europe, Germany, or even China. Everybody is investing in startups in India. And when they bring the money in, and by the way, even what all they bring in, it all is in thousands of crores, not too much. But every money that they're bringing in, one of the biggest constraint or thing that they tell India is, India does not know how to deal with startups, especially technology startups. So what they say is, India is too cumbersome to have a company here. So let us take the company outside India. That is number one. Meaning the parent company of every startup in India is outside India, meaning in Singapore, somewhere else. It can be anywhere but except India. So when a company becomes $1 billion and the company is sold to somebody for $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, the money goes to the investors and all that money goes outside India. Only the employees in India are the ones who get the salaries. But the real market capitalization and the IP building and all that does not come to India. So today, one of the simplest example I tell you in terms of policy, there is a huge problem in the policies. So let us say in India, every startup, any company, after 1 or 2 years, it becomes like a MSME. That means micro, medium, I think something, micro, small, medium enterprise. That's what India calls it as. In India, nobody understands that when you say MSME, the entire policy and ecosystem and everything is geared towards an MSME is either a Kirana retail store or a petrol bunk or something of that nature, right? Or some guy who's selling fruits or something on the side. They're all MSMEs for them. They just don't have any policy for technology MSMEs. They don't understand that at all. No, zero. Nobody invests in technology MSMEs. Nobody understands innovation. Today, there is startup policy in India. They're giving so many incentives for startups and they're recognizing the innovations from startups. Now, one thing that I don't understand is, are you saying that any innovation, it will come only in the last 2 years? Why are you being so bureaucratic? Innovation comes from a company that is 5 years old. You're saying it is not innovation? It is not technology? So the problem is the bureaucracy and the policies in India, and another big problem is GST. So GST is also done by people in retail trade, but in enterprise technologies or enterprise things, nobody gets paid at the time when you cannot pay taxes at the end of the month because the payment culture is very different. So India has a lot of hurdles to nurture a startup or to take them through many things. So India is going through so much of hurdles. It is still not very friendly, India. That is the reason. But that is also something that I really hope things should change as more and more the ecosystem comes in. That's what I'm looking at. See, today, let us say the initial companies like Flipkart, right? Flipkart, the Sanjeev Bansal or somebody, the Bansal brothers, they are the ones who invented, who started Flipkart and they sold it to Walmart. Now they made money. Now, wherever the money is, they're again investing in Indian startups, right? So as you have more and more Indian entrepreneurs, Indian HNIs investing in startups, and we have slightly more control compared to similar to what an Adani or Ambani does. Today, Ambani and Adani, they define a lot of industrial policies to their favor or whatever the favor of the industries that they're in. For technology companies, you don't have anybody fighting for it. Your TCS, Infosys, they fight for their own service companies. But for technology startups or technology products, nobody is fighting for it. So they need to be recognized, and somehow India has to wake up, and somehow bureaucracy has to accept all these things. When they become acceptable, then you will see the investments coming in India, and with the companies staying in India, with the profits and the big valuations staying in India. That is when the real benefits happens.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Priyanka, madam, may I share a word with Sir Satyam, sir?
Sunil sir,
Yes,
just
yes, Ash.
Yeah,
Priyanka
thank you,
madam.
sir. Satyam, sir, good morning, sir. This is Dr. T. Sunil Kumar, CSC Cyber Security Data Science Department, professor in the department, sir. I am pleased to share my heartfelt thanks for your eye-opening Building Young Indians speech, and it's really admirable, sir. Thanks a lot for your time and a valuable expert talk. My only simple question is, does the parenting or impacts of the parent is on an young India entrepreneurs? Means parent may be forcing the students to work as an employee rather than becoming an employer in India especially. That's the reason many students are opting for only job. Even parents before they join their ward in our college, they ask about statistics about the placement and record, and in terms of the average package to highest package. Does the parenting impacting on the number of entrepreneurs? Instead of becoming an entrepreneur and employment creators, they are becoming employees in India, especially. Sir, please, sir, can you
Can I,
justify?
let me
Yeah,
share
can
my
you
points,
justify?
what I
Yes, sir.
observed in India.
Yes, sir. Please
Now,
go.
this is a problem, and I would say this is actually called shooting for mediocrity. That is actually a problem in mostly Telugu guys, not for safety. They're always looking for safety. The second thing, first is safety, to get a job. I want to brag to everyone that my son got a job for, 3 lakh package or 5 lakh package. That's the first thing right after the college. That's number one. So that is one part. Second part is, I saw even the worst things. Let's say, God forbid, somebody goes and starts working for a startup, and he comes out and says, "Sir, I'm not getting any girl to marry me, or I'm not getting a boy to marry me because nobody knows the company that I'm working for. It has to be Infosys or TCS. That's what my in-laws or other people know." That's why I'm quitting this startup and joining a big company. I've seen both. These are two major reasons I've seen. Now, whereas when I look at North India, North Indians are much more risk taking, very risk taking, and they actually go out and do many things and many things to go forward and be in the positions. Now, especially that's a problem with the South Indians. Now, I think somewhere along we probably had to, the speech that we had today or the talk we had today, this has to be shared with the parents. And parents, I think they need to be made well aware of it. I don't know what they see today. I think at VNR with the good professors you have and also the students you have, I don't know why you cannot create an incubator yourself and incubate a few companies with the resources you have and bring that culture. And you collaborate with IET or IEEE or T Hub and all these things. Have some kind of collaboration. I don't know. Maybe you're already doing it, but that's something you should do. And when you do that, what happens is you will be in a much better position to convey what you're doing to the parents and keep counseling them. Now, everything is a percentage. Today, maybe 5% or 10% are going to the startups, maybe 90 are going for the regular jobs. But what I also know is the startup system today is so big now. Now, just like Infosys, nobody minds going and working for Zomato. Zomato is paying a lot of money, whether it's a product is piece of shit or they don't have any work, doesn't matter. Zomato is hiring in big way because they have lots of money. So these things happen. So I think the tide is much better compared to 10 years ago. So even the big companies are Swiggy, and Swiggy is a big company now. To me, it is a delivery boy company. But then if somebody goes and works for Swiggy, yeah, hey, my son is working for Swiggy in Bangalore, right? So it is the number of companies that have become acceptable is getting expanded, which is okay for me. But then parents also have to know all these things, and actually the more the students expose the parents and also in the school, in the college into this entrepreneurship mode, new product mode, with an incubator or something, or maybe a partnership with a T-Hub where your students are regularly going there and volunteering work. To me, that actually creates a little bit more awareness with the parents and also students that it becomes easier. I mean, see again, it's a percentage. This year, if see through what we talk today, if about 5% or 2% students get motivated, and whether they take a decision today or 5 years from now, I think my job is okay. At least we have done a good job. Me and all of us have done something good today. I'll always look at percentages. Nothing is a 0-1. Next year, maybe 10% more people will join. So that's it. I'm okay with the percentages. I don't want 100% anyway. If you get a pass mark, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for your answers. Yeah.
Anyone
Yeah,
else
I
would
think
like?
actually I used to get upset with people. I used to
Hello?
upset get with people. Yeah, hello. I
Yes,
used to get
sir.
upset with people. I used to get upset with people suddenly when somebody said, when I go to some places in Kakinada or Vizag, and
Yeah.
somebody says, yeah, I'm working for this company. But the other guy says, oh, I never heard about this company. I would actually yell at them almost.
Yes.
Just because you didn't hear, and how many companies do you know? Right? Are you in the IT space? You're not in the IT space. You must be doing something. You may be a bank manager, you may be something.
Yes.
And you just simply say that I never heard that company. I said, when I hear that, I always cringe myself. I said, what is wrong with people? Do you have to hear about a company so that you're doing a third-party check or verification? This social thing that we need to get away from it. So in a
Yes.
way, what we are discussing today and what we talk today, I hope this recording will go to some more people and also to the parents and
Yes.
somewhere.
Sure,
So
sir.
everybody hopefully should be much more prepared and much more open. Again, if they change 5% today with what we have discussed, I'm happy about it.
Yes.
We should all be happy about it. I don't look for 100% anyway.
But change is inevitable, sir. Though it's initially reluctant to change, always the systems when they are under change, people reluctant to change. But change is inevitable, sir. Thanks a
See, the
lot, sir.
direction is set. The
Yes.
direction is set.
Yes, sir.
This
Yes.
is a irreversible direction. That is the
Yes.
only good part here.
Yes.
Whether people go today or tomorrow, they will. It's not the question of whether they go today or tomorrow. The only thing is, when they are 35 or 40, they should not repent saying that, I wish I went into a entrepreneurship at that time.
Yes.
Don't repent. Do what it takes early in your life. Luckily, the world is providing you that. The world is providing all those opportunities. Do it now. That's important. And be proud of yourself. Do something big in life. See, I think only during the independence time, majority of the Indians came together and they all fought for independence or they thought about independence.
Correct.
Today, none of us have such big goals other than the army and maybe cricketers, and there's no big goal for anybody here.
Yes.
Everybody says, actually, when I talked to somebody who walked into my office one day, I said, what do you want to do? I'm looking for a job here. Then what do you do? Sir, I'll work for you a small company like yours for maybe a year, and after that I'll get a job in TCS. And then what? Then I'll get married, I'll have 2 kids, and I have a car. I said,
Yeah.
wow. I said, I'm going to die if somebody talks like that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there is a plan for a lot of people. The plan is so simple that they have the rest of the time they can just drink away, they can just have movies, they can keep on playing, they can do whatever they like. The plan is so simple. That is where I have a problem. The youth of India, which is the largest in the world,
Sir.
if they are not motivated, they become the biggest liability for India. They become the biggest unemployed, experienced people.
Correct.
You know what is worse than getting a job now? Being unemployed when you are 30, 35.
Yes.
That is the worst.
True,
So,
sir.
if you want to be that, you better get into the fundamentals. You better get to the bottom of the things. You better become an entrepreneur. Do all those things very early in your life. When you're 35 and you're unemployed, that is hell. I know in US, some of my colleagues at the age of 40, 45, when they lost their jobs, I know some people committed suicide.
Yes.
It happens. Don't take my word for it or anything, but it happens.
Yes.
Because you did not learn what you're supposed to learn when you are supposed to. Then it comes back to bite you. By the way, technology is very easy. Technology jobs are easy, and also technology job losing is also easy,
Correct.
and it is unforgiving. Let me promise you that technology is unforgiving. If you don't prepare yourself today, 5 years from now, the technology changes something else, you don't know how to change. Technology will leave you out on the street. Whatever loans you have taken, whatever cars you have bought, and everything will be up in the air. So anyway, with that kind of a small caution, let me end today. And hope this, if it reaches somebody, actually I would encourage even the faculty also get into some of this adventuring, because the students learn from the teachers most. So,
Can I actually have chance for a last question, sir, if that is okay?
okay, quickly, please.
Yeah, great. Sorry to take your time. I'm Dr. Kiran. I look into the innovation activities at the Institute. I'm an associate professor with electronics and instrumentation engineering, and I'm working with startups even on the campus. I was very keen listening to your lecture. Greatly, thank you, sir, for the great insights that you have given. So the question that I actually wanted to ask was particularly, like you were saying, there is no organic support for innovation or entrepreneurship in education systems, and not just in the education system, but in the way that parenting happens, where we try to protect our kids constantly without even teaching them risk taking, or without even giving them that, building that resilience ground up when they're through their childhood, through their education system, through the society. We constantly have this protecting attitude towards people, and that way suddenly, in my opinion, sir, from what I have been seeing, with due respects to all the entrepreneurs that are coming out, taking entrepreneurship is, it actually has a lot of things to do with in trying to get students to think that they can actually risk and it's okay, that the society will not shun them away because they are risking it. This attitude change and support are completely lacking from the adult's perspective in the education system and in the societal system. And well, even the corporates actually should be supporting more. Like you said, there is no formal investor connect network, which we are trying to do in Telangana ecosystem right now, as I can speak about it. But there has been this gap, particularly in terms of support. Suddenly giving support from outside and saying, okay, you can go ahead and set up a startup, doesn't bring them that attitude. So what can we start correcting, and where, at least so that we can have more startups coming in, more students venturing into startups, like right out of the college?
Yeah, you see, everything starts small. I think when they are in the first year, did you go out? I say this one thing when I lecture to students, what I tell people is engage them in selling. Engage them in selling. Ask them to sell a bunch of pencils to students. Ask them to sell peanuts or something, flowers in front of a temple. Ask them to sell something. Selling is something very important in life. I'm giving a very different perspective here. Introduce all the elements of entrepreneurship, individual pieces to the students very early in their life. Because the first thing that you do when you sell, is that you hear no blatantly on your face. 99% of students or anyone, even you or most of the people, don't know how to handle no. They don't know how to handle rejection. So teach them selling, even anything and arbitrary things, because that's very much core part of our entrepreneurship. Just the way I'm today, in the last 1 hour, I'm trying to sell you a concept, right? I'm making all the things to sell you a concept. Selling is nature. You have to make it part of your nature. Presenting a concept powerfully and with conviction and without taking rejection, right? All those things are very basic parts of personality for an entrepreneur. Secondly, make them look at lots and lots of innovators and also have them do small things first. Firstly, in order to be an entrepreneur, first you have to have the innovative mind in building small programs, look into the source code, look into the innovations, study innovations. And the minimal thing, if somebody at the end of 4 years of degree or even during the second or third year, they start working for startups, to me that is a number one contribution. First, I don't need everybody to start a company. If everybody starts a company, who's going to work? Let them collaborate and build something together. And based on that expertise, let them go research what is good in the market. Okay, there is a startup that came up in T-Hub. What do they need? Do some research. Oh, they're trying to do something for automated vehicles. What do they do? Is it software, hardware? Go talk to them. Everybody's open. And when you talk to them, oh yeah, this is the part they're not doing it. Let me come back and let me make it part of my MTech project or BTech project. Or let me, 4 of us, so let me combine my strength with a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and electronics and software guys. Let us all sit together and do something for them, right? Now let me build something, go take it to them. We're not starting about company yet, investment yet. Do a lot of these small things innovatively and taking initiative and doing things. Instead of buying projects from, third-party markets and all that, and instead of buying and all that, go do the real stuff. Working with them, interacting with them, innovating, doing all those things, right? And eventually go and work for them. Work for some startups. To me, forget about innovation and forget about starting your own company. If you don't do these basic stuff, how can you even start a company? If you don't know how to sell, if you don't have good communication skills, if you don't understand how to do market research, if you don't know how to work for somebody, if you don't know how to come up with ideas, if you don't know how to convert an idea into some kind of a prototype, if you don't know how to take the prototype to the market, if you don't know how to take a prototype to a company, that is what startup is about. So do all these things in bits and pieces, get used to them, and work for companies and then go work for a startup the sooner in your life. So if you do these kind of sprinkle these things across in a year, across your 4 years of time, and encourage more kids to get into this. By the way, the personality building is a lot more. Today, in one of the Wharton MBA classes for executive MBAs, what they did, one of the major things that they did, they had one program for 10 days for survival in the jungle by their army commandos. And these people, when they went out, executive MBAs went into the jungle, and when they worked on survival 1 week, and when they came back, they said, oh, now I understand what risk taking is. None of this is really damn risk. What the hell is there? I could have died. I could have got swept away. And I ate a snake. See, that is what survival is. So there are so many ways to teach these things. And also talk about social skills, how to be competitive. First, let everybody play football. Let everybody play cricket. That's where you learn the team spirit. You know how to make the team win, not just you. See, there are so many elements here. So address each element of their own. If it's already happening, account for it. Pull them all together and make it all count. Then you say that you start working for a entrepreneurship. Then the entrepreneurship will happen automatically. When you identify all these qualities and the qualifications that are required, not based on your AICTE curriculum or something, or textbook. this is when you work on these kind of things and connect all these dots. When you connect the dots, then entrepreneur comes out. Or at least he'll have the risk taking ability and all those things, and how to convince his own parents that, Amma, it is not that bad. I've been there. I know what, it's not a risk. I can actually make more money for you. I promise you. I have the capability. That kind of a convincing. Yeah, parents are protective, but why are the kids not able to convey that feeling? That's because they themselves don't have the conviction. Why? Because they don't know how to sell, they don't know how to communicate. So there's so many elements that go into entrepreneurship. So everything is important. When you put them all together, then that actually is a package that actually build them up for a period of 4 years. Then they start. So if you say everybody should work for a startup or do some innovation or do these kind of things, you actually have about 5 to 10 elements that every student should touch every year. Then automatically at the end of 4 years, you'll have more percentage. Again, it's a percentage success. Does it answer?
Yes, sir. Great. Yeah, it does answer most of it. Thank you. And I would
Thank
like to connect. I'll get the contact later. Thank you.
It's all right.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Kiran
Take
sir.
care, man. I need to go somewhere, right?
Sir, Satyam sir, we would like to have a group photo if possible, please. Kindly, just a photograph, sir, please. I
Okay.
request all the participants to turn on the
Let
cams.
me see.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Devi, you are not. Actually, it's in a rare cam, sir. Yeah, please.
So thank you,
I can't
Satyam
hear
Garu.
you well. So you probably, whatever you need to do, take a picture now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Satyam Garu, for accepting our invitation and delivering the nice lecture on the eve of Engineers Day. On behalf of BNRBJT, I once again thank IEEE chapter
Take care.
and Padmasari
Bye-bye.
madam and Priyanka madam.
Take
So
care.
for
Thank
arranging this,
everyone. And
yeah,
take care,
thank you.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, it is
Yeah. Let
wonderful,
me take leave. Okay.
eye-opening to
Take
all
care.
of us, sir, actually. Sir, 1 minute, sir, I'll take 1 minute only because at VNR VJT, we are also giving equal importance for the innovations, incubation, inventions, and entrepreneurship, sir. So actually, we have a VJ Hub is there. We have started in the year 2008 itself, sir, at VNR VJT. As on today, we are having 12 startups at VNR VJT, out of which I think two already they have done extremely good job, sir. One is Joshua air condition element, sir, and the second one is a prosthetic hand. So we got huge demand for those two products, sir. So these are all the outcomes of that VJ Hub. So anyway, sir, I think it is beginning of starting these few innovations at PNRBJ. I think we want to go further. Actually, we want to improve this area. In this connection, we have requested even our HODs and senior faculty. Kiran is going to look after these activities at VNRBJIT. I think, I hope this area where we are lagging as and today, I think we have to improve a lot. From the beginning itself, I think we have to educate our people and we have to conduct many awareness programs on entrepreneurship so that definitely I think people will show some interest in those areas. Even though I think our people, I think they are exhibiting their talent on the eve of, I think, project exhibition, I think ideas exhibition, ideas competitions we used to conduct. So that way we can identify the people who are competent to start their own startups at VNR VJIT. We are welcoming all those people. And sir, I think you're all aware about that there are three important skills that are required if they want to start their own startups at any place. One is, I think, courage. I think that is very, very important. At the younger age, I think we have to educate the people to take risk. Once they can take risk, definitely they can do wonders at the later stage. And the second one is the fire also. That is also very, very important. By attending this type of lectures, at least some people, they can think over in that particular direction and then they can start their own startups. Unless I think you can create that ecosystem, I think it is very, very difficult to start all those startups. But anyway, I think we are giving the, I think, utmost important at VNR VJIT to start more startups, and we want to create a good environment and see that more products should be developed at VNR VJIT. On the eve of Engineers Day, I wish you all a very happy Engineers Day. I think this day is very very important day for all of us. I think we're all providing solutions to the society. I think you're all aware that an engineer is a person who applies the skills and knowledge of the basic sciences for the good of society. Because the society is looking for the quality solutions. So as an engineer, I think why we are celebrating this day as Engineers Day, because this day, I think today is the birthday of Mokshivana Viseswaraya Garu. So it is our duty to remember his services rendered to the society, especially the construction of Usman Sagar Bridge. I think that is one important thing in Hyderabad. I think you're all aware about that. And the second important thing is the power generation at Bangalore. I think one of the river is converted into power generation. So that way, I think these are the two important milestones he has done to the society. That way, I think each one of us, I think you have a potential to generate at least some solutions and provide a quality solution to the society. I once again thank you for this, madam, for giving this opportunity to speak few words on this occasion. I wish you all a very happy English Day and as well as the belated Teachers Day also. Thank you once again for sparing your
Thank
value.
thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Happy
Actually,
English Day to everyone.
at Mumbai airport, sir. Yeah, he has some other work. Even though he has committed, he has delivered his stock from Bombay
Yes.
airport.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that
okay,
commitment should be there for students. I
okay.
think at least 2% of the students will convert as backbone to India. Everyone will be happy. I thank you all for having this program.
Uh, um,
Thank you, madam.
just a second, sir. I request Sujit to convey vote of thanks for the event.